400 hours, South China Sea, deep waters north of the Spratly Islands. The ocean is a bottomless void of crushing black pressure. A solitary steel leviathan, the U.S. Navy attack submarine, slides through the darkness, invisible and silent. Inside the con, the air is cool and smells of recycled oxygen and high-voltage electronics. Red battle lanterns cast long, shifting shadows across the faces of the crew as they monitor glowing green screens. The low hum of the nuclear reactor is the heartbeat of the vessel, a constant vibrating presence beneath the deck plates. The sonar man freezes. His hand hovers over the frequency dial. He stops breathing for a moment to listen. A faint, rhythmic scratching cuts through the static of the open ocean. It is barely there. It hides beneath the chaotic noise of a thermal layer, a wall of temperature change that blinds acoustic sensors. The sonar man taps the glass. He isolates the sound. It repeats. The rhythm is too steady for nature. It is a screw churning water. "Con sonar, new contact bearing 175, the sonar man says, his voice cutting the silence like a knife. The captain drops his coffee. He steps into the center of the control room. The relaxed atmosphere evaporates. Every spine straightens. The captain looks at the officer of the deck. He orders a steep dive. He wants to get under the thermal layer to hear better. "Make your depth 800 feet, 20-degree down angle," the captain orders. 800 feet, aye, the diving officer repeats. The helm operator pushes the yoke forward. The deck falls away beneath their feet. Gravity pulls everyone toward the bow. The submarine noses down into the abyss. The steel hull pops and groans as the pressure mounts outside. It sounds like a hammer striking an anvil. Rivets strain against the crushing weight of the sea. The depth gauge spins rapidly. 400 feet, 500 feet. The hull groans louder. The ship vibrates as it cuts through the density layer. In the sonar room, the signal clears. The fuzz on the screen sharpens into a distinct glowing line. The enemy is there. It is a heavy metallic signature. It is a Chinese attack submarine. It is moving fast. The U.S. captain looks at the tactical plot. He sees the geometry of the intercept. He realizes they are not just patrolling. They have walked into a trap or a convoy lane. He orders the weapons officer to spin up the torpedoes. The crew rushes to battle stations. The alarm klaxon sounds, 3 short blasts that echo through the steel tubes of the ship. Sailors jump from their bunks in the berthing compartments, sliding into boots and zipping coveralls. The ship transforms from a silent observer into a weapon. The captain leans over the map. He traces a line with his finger. He orders a speed increase to close the distance. The reactor pushes more power to the screw. The submarine surges forward against the water resistance. They are closing in. 4:30 hours, submerged 800 feet below the surface. The U.S. submarine levels off in the pitch-black water. The vibration of the hull ceases as the ship slows to a crawl. Inside, the crew speaks in hushed whispers. The ventilation fans spin down to low power. Even the ice machine in the galley is turned off to eliminate mechanical noise. The only sound is the faint, rhythmic dripping of condensation on cold steel pipes. The captain stands behind the sonar operators, his arms crossed, watching the glowing green waterfall display. The enemy contact is a steady line moving smoothly through the deep. They are hunting a ghost. The tension in the con is physical. It presses against the chest like the water pressure outside. The weapons officer stands rigid at the fire control console. His finger hovers over the target designation key. He wipes a bead of sweat from his forehead. The sonarman presses his headphones tighter against his ears. He closes his eyes. He filters out the biological noise of whales and shifting tectonic plates. He focuses entirely on the artificial hum of the enemy propeller. "Range 2,000 yards, the sonarman whispers. "Contact is steady." The comm shatters instantly. The green line on the sonar screen spikes violent red. The enemy signal shifts pitch. A high-pitched mechanical whine cuts through the speakers. The Chinese submarine knows. It detects the anomaly in the water behind it. "Contact changing course!" the sonarman yells, his voice cracking. "Sharp turn to starboard. He's coming around." The enemy captain executes a high-speed pivot. The Chinese vessel banks hard, its screw churning the water into a chaotic froth. It turns to face its stalker. The sudden maneuver creates a massive wash of turbulence. "Right full rudder, all ahead flank," the U.S. captain roars. The helmsman wrenches the yoke to the right. The deck tilts violently beneath their feet. Binders, coffee mugs, and loose tools slide off the consoles and crash onto the deck plates. Sailors grab handrails to stay upright. The massive submarine leans into the turn like a fighter jet. The nuclear reactor ramps up instantly. Superheated steam slams into the turbines. The main shaft spins up with a deafening whine. The propeller bites into the water, driving the 800-ton vessel forward. The hull groans under the G-force. Steel ribs protest against the strain. The ship shakes violently as it accelerates through the enemy's wake. The two submarines pass within yards of each other in the darkness. The acoustic shockwave from the passing enemy vessel hammers against the U.S. hull. It sounds like a sledgehammer striking the outer steel skin. Dust falls from the overhead cabling. "Contact is accelerating," the sonar man reports, shouting over the noise of the rushing water. He is diving, making depth 1,000 feet. The enemy sub points its bow toward the bottom of the ocean. It seeks the crushing depths where the pressure is lethal. It tries to shake the pursuer in the complex thermal currents of the deep trench. The U.S. captain does not hesitate. He signals the diving officer. The U.S. sub tips forward, following the enemy down into the abyss. Stealth is dead. The ocean around them roars with the mechanical violence of two leviathans tearing through the water. 500 hours, 1,200 feet below the surface. The pressure hull compresses violently. The steel ribs of the U.S. submarine scream under the immense weight of the ocean. Inside the control room, the air is thick with tension and the smell of ozone. The crew clings to the consoles as the ship vibrates from maximum speed. The digital depth gauge flashes red warnings. They are pushing the vessel to its structural limit. "Transient!" the sonar man screams. "Tube door opening, bearing 180. The warning hangs in the air for a split second. Then a hiss of compressed air tears through the water. It is followed by the high-pitched whine of a motor starting. "Torpedo in the water!" the sonar man yells. "Torpedo in the water, bearing 180. It is active." The enemy weapon pings. The sound is a sharp metallic chirp that penetrates the hull. Ping, ping, ping. It gets faster. It locks onto the U.S. submarine's acoustic signature. "Right full rudder, down 5 degrees, all ahead, flank!" the captain bellows. "Deploy countermeasures!" The helmsman throws the yoke. The submarine banks hard to the right. The sudden change in momentum slams crew members against the bulkheads. Charts and pencils fly across the room. In the mess hall, trays of food crash to the floor. The ship shudders as the screw bites into the water, fighting the inertia. From the stern signal ejector, a capsule shoots out. It tumbles into the black water. It activates instantly. The decoy begins to scream electronically, mimicking the sound of the submarine's propeller. It creates a loud, bubbling wall of noise. The enemy torpedo corrects its course. It turns sharply. Its sonar seeks the loudest target. The weapon closes the distance at 50 knots. The pinging becomes a continuous tone. It is screaming now. The torpedo dives past the U.S. submarine's tail. It misses the rudder by yards. The wash from the weapon's prop rocks the submarine violently. The torpedo slams into the decoy. A massive explosion rips through the water. The shockwave hits the U.S. submarine like a solid fist. The deck plates jump. Light fixtures shatter, raining glass onto the crew. The main lights die. Emergency red battle lanterns flicker on, bathing the chaos in blood-colored light. Dust pours from the ventilation shafts. The ship tilts wildly as the water turbulence rolls it sideways. "Report damage!" the captain yells, gripping the periscope stand to stay upright. "Rudder control is sluggish," the helm reports. "We are losing depth." The submarine slides deeper into the trench, destabilized by the blast. The hull pops loudly as it descends past its test depth. 5:15 hours, deep trench, South China Sea. The submarine hangs suspended in the black water, heavy and wounded. The ocean around them churns with the chaotic energy of the torpedo explosion. Bubbles and disturbed silt cloud the water, creating a dense acoustic fog. Inside the hull, the emergency lighting casts the control room in a blood-red gloom. Smoke from a fried circuit board hangs near the ceiling, stinging the eyes. "Depth is stabilizing," the diving officer gasps, his hands gripping the ballast control lever white-knuckled. "Holding at 1,400 feet," the hull creaks loudly. It is a sharp, terrifying pop of metal adjusting to extreme pressure. The sound echoes through the silent ship like a gunshot. The sonar man shakes his head frantically. He presses his palms against the screen. "Contact lost," he reports, his voice tight. "The water is too turbulent. I have nothing but washout. I cannot see him." The enemy is gone. They are blind in a knife fight. The captain steps forward. He wipes soot from his face. He knows the enemy is still out there, circling, waiting for a noise to target. He raises a hand. "Rig for ultra quiet," the captain whispers. "Silence all non-essential equipment. Now." The order relays instantly via headset to every compartment. The ship dies. The massive reactor coolant pumps spin down to a barely audible hum. Ventilation fans grind to a halt. In the engine room, mechanics stop their repairs on the ruptured steam line. They wrap heavy rags around their wrenches to prevent metal-on-metal clanking. In the galley, a cook catches a falling metal tray just inches before it hits the deck. He holds his breath, his muscles trembling. Silence swallows the vessel. The only sound is the terrifying rhythmic compression of the hull. The ocean squeezes the steel tube. Creak! Pop! A bolt shears off a pipe in the overhead and lands on the carpet with a soft thud. Every head in the control room snaps toward the noise. The captain glares at the offender. The sailor freezes, eyes wide, sweat rolling down his nose. The sonar man closes his eyes. He tunes the gain on the passive array. He hunts for a ghost in the static. He listens for a pump, a hatch closing, or the flow of water over a hull. Outside, the ocean is a vast, crushing weight. The darkness presses against the hull, hiding the enemy who waits to kill them. 545 hours, underwater canyon edge, South China Sea. The U.S. submarine drifts silently along a jagged cliff of volcanic rock. The black water is motionless. Inside the hull, the temperature rises as the ventilation remains off. Condensation slicks the deck plates. The crew stands frozen at their stations. They watch the sonar waterfall for any movement against the canyon wall. The silence is heavy and suffocating. A shadow on the sonar screen detaches itself from the rock face. The cliff moves. Transient, close aboard, bearing 270. The sonar man screams, tearing his headphones off. Tube door open. The enemy submarine sat on the bottom, waiting in ambush. It fires at point-blank range. The hiss of the launch is instant and loud. Emergency deep, all ahead flank, the captain roars. Cavitate, get us out of here. The helmsman shoves the yoke forward. The reactor operator pulls the control rods, flooding the core with power. The propeller spins violently, tearing the water into boiling foam. The submarine lurches forward, struggling to gain momentum against the inertia. The enemy torpedo closes the distance in seconds. It detonates 50 yards off the port beam. A massive sphere of expanding gas hammers the submarine. The shockwave strikes the steel hull like a freight train. The vessel is thrown sideways through the water. Inside the control room, the world overturns. The periscope stand shears its bolts and crashes to the deck. Sparks shower from the overhead panels as electrical conduits sever. The captain is hurled into the fire control console. His head slams against the steel violently. Blood sprays across the tactical plot. In the engine room, the violence is absolute. The shockwave warps the piping. A main steam line ruptures with a deafening shriek. A jet of superheated white steam blasts into the compartment. It slices through insulation and cabling. Two mechanics are lifted off their feet by the pressure. They fly across the room and smash into the reduction gear housing. They collapse, screaming as the scalding vapor engulfs them. Steam leak! Major steam leak in lower level! The engineering officer yells into the comms loop. The ship rolls 40 degrees to the left. Loose tools, binders, and fire extinguishers slide down the slanted deck. They crash into the bulkhead in a pile of debris. The ocean roars outside. The hull groans under the assault. 06115 hours, aft engine room, U.S. submarine. The compartment is a blinding white hell. Superheated steam roars from the fractured pipe with the violence of a jet engine. The noise is deafening, a physical wall of sound that drowns out the scream of the klaxon. The temperature spikes to 120 degrees in seconds. Visibility is zero. Emergency lights are swallowed by the dense, scalding fog. Casualty, steamline rupture, a chief petty officer yells into his headset. He pulls an emergency air-breathing mask over his face. He snaps the hose into the manifold on the wall. Damage control teams charge into the whiteout. They wear fire-retardant flash gear that covers every inch of skin. They move by memory and touch. One sailor slips on the oil-slicked deck. He crashes hard against a pump housing. He scrambles back up, ignoring the bruise. The steam finds the gaps in their collars. It burns the skin raw. Isolate the main steam valve. Manually shut it down, the chief roars. Two sailors grab the wheel of the isolation valve. The metal is blistering hot. Their gloves smoke as they grip the steel. They heave against the pressure. The valve fights them. The steam jet blasts directly over their heads, melting the insulation on the overhead cables. Sparks shower down like fireworks, igniting a small fire in the bilge oil. A nozzleman triggers a CO2 extinguisher. The chemical blast smothers the flames instantly. The sailors groan, straining their backs, heaving the valve wheel inch by inch. The roar of the escaping steam changes pitch. It lowers, it weakens, they spin the wheel shut. The screaming jet dies into a hiss. In the control room, the situation is critical. The ship is heavy and sinking. The steam leak forced a reactor scram. The main engine is offline. The submarine is a dead weight falling toward the crush depth. Depth 1,600 feet. We are passing test depth, the diving officer shouts. Stern planes are not responding. The hull pops violently. The steel is compressing to the point of failure. A bolt shoots out of the overhead and embeds itself in the chart table. Water sprays from a seal near the periscope stand. The captain wipes blood from his forehead. He looks at the depth gauge. It spins past safe limits. He grabs the comms handset. Engineering, shift to electric propulsion motor. Give me everything the battery has. EPM answering, comes the static-filled reply. All ahead full, hard rise on the fairwater planes, blow forward trim, the captain orders. It is a desperate move. He is blowing high-pressure air into the ballast tanks while driving the ship upward with the weak electric backup motor. The electric propulsion motor winds to life. The screw turns sluggishly. The compressed air hammers into the forward tanks with a thundering whoosh. The nose of the submarine jerks upward. The deck tilts steeply. The ship hangs in the water, shuddering. Gravity pulls it down. The buoyancy fights back. For 10 agonizing seconds, the depth gauge holds steady at 1650. The hull groans, a long, terrifying moan of stressed metal. Then the numbers flicker. 1640. 1630. Vertical velocity is 0, the diving officer yells. We are holding depth. The submarine drifts in the dark, wounded and running on battery power. The reactor is dead. They are silent, but they are alive. 700 hours control room U.S. submarine. The vessel creeps through the dark water at 5 knots, powered only by the silent electric drive. The air is stale and hot. Without the main reactor, the air scrubbers run on low power. CO2 levels climb. Sweat drips from the chin of the fire control technician. He wipes the grease from his console screen with a rag. The silence is absolute. Con sonar. The whisper is barely audible. I have him. Bearing 090, range 4,000 yards. He is moving slow. He thinks we are dead. The captain steps into the center of the con. He looks at the weapons officer. He sees the firing solution appear on the screen. It is a clean line. The enemy is broadside, searching for debris. The U.S. sub has the angle. Make tubes 1 and 2 ready in all respects, the captain orders softly. Open outer doors. Outer doors open, the weapons officer replies. The captain grips the overhead rail. He breaks the silence doctrine. He chooses violence. Sonar, go active. Continuous transmission. Flood the water. The sonar man flips a guarded switch. He presses a key. Ping. The sound is not a noise. It is a physical blow. The active sonar transducer on the bow blasts a pulse of sound energy into the water. It strikes the enemy hull and bounces back instantly. Inside the U.S. sub, the reverberation rings through the steel frames like a bell. The sonar screen lights up. The enemy submarine is painted clearly in the electronic display. It is naked in the water. Solution locked, the weapons officer yells. Shoot tube 1, the captain roars. The weapons officer smashes the firing trigger. Whoosh! Compressed air hammers the heavy torpedo out of the tube. The submarine shudders as tons of water rush in to fill the void. Tube 1 away! Wire is active! Shoot tube 2. Whoosh! The second weapon tears out of the bow. 2 heavy torpedoes streak through the water. They accelerate to 50 knots in seconds. Their propellers scream as they close the distance. A thin copper wire unspools from the back of each weapon, connecting them to the submarine's fire control computer. The U.S. crew guides them. They are spears thrown by hand. The enemy submarine reacts. It detects the active ping. It hears the launch. Its screw thrashes the water, trying to accelerate. It is too late. The geometry of the kill is set. ZO 710 hours the kill zone 4,000 yards from the U.S. position. The 2 Mark 48 torpedoes slice through the water at 55 knots. Their propellers scream a high-pitched mechanical death note. Behind them, thin copper wires unspool from the guidance cassettes, trailing back miles through the dark ocean to the U.S. submarine's fire control computer. On the Chinese submarine, the reaction is desperate. The enemy vessel turns sharply to the left. Compressed air hisses from its signal ejectors. 3 acoustic decoys shoot into the wake. They activate instantly. They generate a chaotic wall of electronic noise. mimicking the sound of a submarine screw to confuse the incoming weapons. In the U.S. control room, the weapons officer watches the sensor data. He sees the target split into 4 distinct contacts on the screen. 3 are fake, 1 is real. The torpedo sonar seeks the loudest noise. It begins to turn toward a decoy. Weapon 1 is chasing the countermeasure, the weapons officer states coldly. He adjusts a dial on his console. He sends a command down the wire. Overriding sensor, steer left 2 degrees.
Override.
The torpedo obeys. It ignores the screaming decoy. It snaps back onto the intercept course. It locks onto the true metallic echo of the enemy hull. The distance closes, 200 yards, 100 yards. The enemy captain tries a final vertical climb to evade. It is useless. The first torpedo strikes the enemy submarine just aft of the sail. The warhead detonates. 600 pounds of high explosive erupt in a blinding flash of energy. The water cannot compress. The shockwave transforms into a hammer of solid force. It punches a 10-foot hole through the high tensile steel skin. The blast shreds the ballast tanks. It rips the control surfaces off the hull. The explosion creates a massive vacuum bubble. The bubble expands, then collapses violently under the crushing weight of the ocean. This secondary hammer blow breaks the keel of the Chinese submarine. The vessel snaps in half. Inside the enemy ship, the end is instantaneous. The pressure hull fails. Water rushes in at supersonic speed. It moves faster than the nerve impulses in the human brain. The air inside the submarine compresses until it ignites. The hull implodes. The steel ribs buckle and fold inward like crushed aluminum. On the U.S. submarine, the wire snaps. The data feed goes dead. A terrifying, rumbling boom reaches them through the water seconds later. It shakes the deck plates. It is the sound of deep-water death. Unit 1 detonation, the sonar man reports. Breaking up noises, loud crunching. I hear bulkheads collapsing. The ocean floor shudders as the wreckage begins its long fall into the dark. 7:30 hours, post-combat sector. The ocean slowly absorbs the violence. The reverberations of the implosion fade into the background noise of the sea. Inside the U.S. submarine, the silence returns, heavier than before. The crew stands at their stations, motionless. The air is cold again. The adrenaline crash leaves hands trembling. Con sonar, the sonar man says, his voice flat and professional. Target signature has ceased. I am hearing settling noises on the bottom. Breaking glass, crunching metal, target is destroyed. The captain nods once. He does not smile. He stares at the blank spot on the tactical display where the enemy submarine used to be. The red threat marker flickers off. Reload tube 1 and 2, the captain orders quietly. Check for other contacts. All clear, sonar replies. On the surface, 2,000 feet above, the evidence arrives. A massive bubble of oil erupts onto the waves. It spreads into a black, iridescent slick. Shattered pieces of cork insulation, plastic matting, and personal debris bob in the swell. The morning sun illuminates the graveyard. Captain, the navigator speaks up, we have surface warships closing from the north. Estimated time of arrival, 30 minutes. They heard the explosion. The hunt is over, but the escape begins. The U.S. submarine is wounded. It relies on backup power. It cannot run fast. It must hide. Make your depth 2,000 feet, the captain orders. Steer course 180. Keep us in the shadow of the trench. 2,000 feet, aye, the diving officer repeats. The submarine tilts its nose down. It slips away from the scene of the kill. It descends past the crushing depth, hugging the geological wall of the underwater canyon. The steel hull groans one last time as it settles into the deep, cold dark. The propeller turns slowly, barely churning the water. The vessel becomes a hole in the ocean, silent and invisible. It disappears into the abyss, leaving only the wreckage behind.